Hey there everyone, this is Michael Dougal, the Nootropic Reviewer, and during this video today, you will learn about alternatives to caffeine as a nootropic supplement. There's actually so many of them, at least 5, and I'll share with you my favorites, how to take them, as well as the side effects. Because what we know about caffeine is that it's absolutely great for energy levels, for alertness, especially for motivation, yet for many users, it does have negative side effects, which include anxiety, energy crashes, and of course, building up a tolerance. And the first one that we'll talk about is ephedrine. Ephedrine became very, very popular for fat loss, especially when pairing it with caffeine. And my experience with ephedrine, for the most part, was pretty positive. I found that it did increase levels of focus. However, it didn't last as long as caffeine did. And unfortunately, there's not enough research to confirm how safe ephedrine may be, especially for people with any heart issues or any issues whatsoever with mental illness. I would stay clear of ephedrine. It's definitely not the right fit for you, but it most definitely can't be ignored. There was a specific period when I was actually off caffeine and I was only using ephedrine. I was taking 8 milligrams 2 to 3 times per day, and I really liked that I was able to focus. I was able to read a lot faster. I was able to retain information. It seemed better because I was able to get through a lot of studying. And this kind of goes back to, what are you using caffeine for specifically? Because if you're using it as a student expecting that it will help you with your studies, that personally didn't work for me. I noticed that when I was under the influence of caffeine, I was able to get through material very quickly, like my textbooks. However, I was not retaining anything in my memory, and overall, I determined that caffeine was actually doing more harm than it was good. But when it came to ephedrine, I had a much better experience when I was using it for studying. Plus, I had noticed I was able to use ephedrine later on in the evening and have it not keep me up like how caffeine would. So ephedrine, what I didn't like about it was that it didn't really help me with my workouts as much as caffeine did. Like, I love taking caffeine pre-workout. With ephedrine, I didn't get that same boost of physical energy. I definitely couldn't bust PRs. I definitely wasn't getting any benefit with cardiovascular activity. So that's why I stopped using ephedrine altogether when I finished studying. But I do feel that it is somewhat underrated. Let's talk about alternative number 2, and that would be Yohimbine. And all things being considered, I would probably give Yohimbine a thumbs down. Where I do like it is I like it for physical energy, but you really have to be educated on the use of Yohimbine. I think it's more appropriate when you're pairing it off with caffeine. And for most people, they just feel so anxious and so uneasy when they're using Yohimbine, and your heart rate significantly increases. I'm telling you, if you try taking Yohimbine pre-workout, you won't be able to lift weights. Your heart will just be beating through your chest. It's very uncomfortable, but it can't be ignored because some people do see good results with their mood. And that's been my experience as well, actually. There was a period where I was in a little bit of a career slump, you can say, and I was using caffeine along with a little bit of Yohimbine every single day, and I was feeling much more better, much more optimistic, a little bit euphoric, to the point that it made me a lot more courageous than I was accustomed to, and that felt good, and that really helped me to get out of that specific period. But with Yohimbine, you really need to understand the dosage. You have to know under what circumstances to take it, what circumstances you shouldn't take it. Like with Yohimbine, there's no point taking it along with the meal. It's almost useless unless you take it fasted or several hours after a meal, because if your insulin levels are high, you just simply won't feel Yohimbine working. And watch this video over here if you want to learn more about Yohimbine. It's a very tricky and interesting nootropic, but it does yield results. And the next nootropic supplement we'll talk about is Theacrine. And the way a lot of people look at Theacrine is it can give you exactly what you can get from caffeine without giving you the anxiety and the uneasiness. And I'm going to be the person to tell you the truth, to tell you that it's horribly overrated, but it's better than the other 2 alternatives I mentioned because it overall seems healthier, and there's some research which does support that. And where Theacrine got a lot of attention is for its effects, specifically that people believe it can give you the same physical and mental energy as caffeine will without giving you the anxiety. And I would say that's a little bit overhyped. I don't think Theacrine is all that effective. Even if I were to take 200 milligrams of Theacrine, it's not been my experience that it even feels like 100 milligrams of caffeine. Caffeine is just way stronger, especially for your mood. And I've tried using Theacrine pre-workout. It's not that beneficial. I have found that it does to some extent help with cardiovascular exercise. This is the bottle here. This is from Nootropics Depot, and it will give you the alertness which you may want. Perhaps if you're experiencing some tiredness during the day, if you're taking some time off of caffeine, then it can be said that Theacrine could be a good fit because it may work on different receptors than caffeine would, so you can kind of easily reset your tolerance. But it's just so subtle to the point you'll ask yourself, what's the point of even continuing to take this? But there may be something to be said about using Theacrine along with caffeine pre-workout. I've had some success mixing 200 milligrams of caffeine pre-workout and adding 100 milligrams of Theacrine. I found that I get a better energy boost, plus I don't crash as hard. And a lot of people believe that with Theacrine, they can take it even a pretty high dose, 200 milligrams plus of Theacrine, and they won't experience any energy crash or any brain fog that you get when you take caffeine. But that's not been my experience, and it's been my experience with pretty much every stimulant out there that the more stimulated you get, the worse the crash is. And what that crash feels like is brain fog. You don't want to do anything. You feel a bit lethargic, you feel fatigued, and you cannot really think clearly, which is of course a very uncomfortable place to be. And the next alternative I want to talk about is dynamine. Dynamine I put in kind of like the same category as theacrine. It's expensive, probably not necessary. I see theacrine more like mental clarity and more like mental energy, whereas I see dynamine better on the physical side. I found that 100 milligrams of dynamine, for example, will get you a bit of physical energy that's more comparable to something like caffeine. With dynamine, most people seem to use that one pre-workout, like as an alternative to caffeine or even adding onto caffeine. I've seen a lot of pre-workout blends these days containing both caffeine and dynamine, yet most people seem to get away from dynamine, realizing it's really not doing too much. Like, there's not many negative side effects that people often report about, and same with theacrine, but at the same time, it just doesn't do that much to justify the expense. And then of course you're experiencing the crash. Now let's talk about a couple nootropic supplements that I actually really like as alternatives to caffeine. And the first one is going to be L-Tyrosine. And L-Tyrosine is actually not a stimulant. It's an amino acid that's found in proteins like chicken breast, like egg whites, even turkey. But when you take L-Tyrosine by itself, so without other amino acids that are competing during the digestion process, you will actually feel more alert, you'll feel like your concentration is better, and your motivation is much higher. And this one actually really worked for me. What happened was I did take a whole year off of caffeine after going to a Tony Robbins seminar back in 2018, and like L-Tyrosine was the one thing that helped me get through that, because I took L-Tyrosine pre-workout. It still really helped with all my exercise. Of course, L-Tyrosine is one of the most common ingredients you'll see out there in like energy drinks or pre-workout supplements, because it really does work with minimal side effects. So I used it then, but I also used it in the early afternoon, even late afternoon, because it's like anytime you feel fatigued or your concentration isn't that great, you can take about 750 milligrams of L-Tyrosine, and like right away you notice that your attention is there, your concentration is there, you're motivated, because it works on the neurotransmitter dopamine and really significantly raises it to make you be in that state where you want to get things done. And so the ideal dosage for most people is 500 milligrams up to 1 gram per serving. You can take that 2 to 3 times per day. And what's great about L-Tyrosine specifically is that you can get away with taking it later on in the day, even within 3 to 4 hours of sleeping. For me anyway, I can take L-Tyrosine, whereas I can't take something like caffeine, because caffeine would keep me up. So definitely look into that one. I've talked about L-Tyrosine in this video over here. And the other alternative I want to share with you is phenylpiracetam, which is definitely very different than these other supplements, because with phenylpiracetam, you only need to take it once a day. For me, that's a dosage of about 100 milligrams, and you're so stimulated, you're so alert to the point that it can be counterproductive. So you want to understand what other nootropics you can take to pretty much like put the brakes on it a little bit, so you can have good judgment, you can think clearly, yet you can still execute at a very high level. But I really like phenylpiracetam. It kind of feels like an extended release caffeine, in that it's not like super intense in any specific times like caffeine is, but you notice it working throughout the whole day, and only take it in the morning or early afternoon, because trust that this stuff will keep you up at night. And if you take too much of it, you will definitely feel wired. Not only that, but you'll also feel like very warm. Sometimes I'll take too much phenylpiracetam that I'll need to take cold showers, not once, but like twice a day, just to kind of cool down my body temperature so that I can still be productive. And I've talked more about phenylpiracetam in this video over here. It's one of the best nootropic supplements out there. Definitely look into it. And I would love to know, what is an alternative that you specifically use as a substitute for caffeine? Be sure to share it in the comments below, and do subscribe if you did get value from this video. Of course, be sure to drop a like. And if you would like to chat with me one-on-one, you can do so over on Patreon, or send me a direct message on Instagram. And be sure to join our Discord server, where we have a 24/7 chat room, and we're answering people in a very time-sensitive fashion and having a whole lot of fun. I thank you for your interest in nootropics, and I look forward to seeing you all next time.